If you want the best modifications in the game, the most important thing for you to know is that you will not be able to assemble all of the modifications in the game. For those of you who do not believe me, this is the list of all of the ingredients needed to assemble all the modifications in the game. And this doesn't even include the 19 modifications with active skills that do not yet exist in the game. So when those are introduced to the game, this list will grow quite a bit. You cannot assemble all of the modifications in the game. You would need to recycle thousands of full durability guns just to get enough carbon fiber alone. You cannot assemble all of the modifications in the game. This means that the most important thing when approaching modifications is deciding which modifications you want. It would obviously take way too long to go through all 176 modifications that are currently in the game, so in this video I'm going to do two things. First, starting now, you're going to see footage of the material cost and the benefits of over 90% of the modifications in the game. The research team has finished gathering all the information on all the modifications, so we're ready to upload it to the website, but my friend that does the website is on vacation right now, so we will have to wait until next week before we can update it. Once we do update the website, you will not only be able to search for modifications in the database to see what is required to build it and what benefits it gives, but you will also be able to search for a weapon, and on that screen you will be able to see a list of every modification for that weapon, so you can compare them to each other. Sorry we haven't been great about keeping the website perfectly up to date. We're still working behind the scenes to add more content to the website, which sometimes makes it hard for us to focus on updating what we've already done. While this footage keeps playing for you guys, I'm going to share my thoughts on the 9 different stats that you can modify. The first stat is damage. This one's pretty self-explanatory. The main thing you need to keep in mind here is which enemies are you going to be killing with that weapon. For example, upgrading a spear from 10 damage to 11 damage or 12 damage or even 13 damage isn't going to do you that much good because most enemies you kill with the spear have 40 hit points. But getting that spear to 14 damage will allow you to get one-shot sneak attacks on all of those enemies, which will save you a lot of time and the durability of your spear. Fortunately, I don't think that's possible, but you get the point. The second stat is critical damage. Most melee weapons have a base critical multiplier of 3, and ranged weapons have a base critical multiplier of 2. By modifying a weapon's critical damage, you can increase or decrease this amount. This stat is not nearly as good as damage, but it's still a good stat. The third stat is critical chance. Since you have a 100% chance of getting a critical when sneaking up on an enemy, this stat only benefits after you are fighting. In my opinion, this is a really good stat to invest in when you're considering weapons for PvP. Not only can it add a significant amount of damage, but it is a burst of damage, which can throw people off. Ideally, this might let you kill someone, but at the very least, it would likely cause them to freak out and overheal. It is important to note, however, that a full bar of this stat does not mean that you have a 100% chance of getting a critical hit. I'll explain more on my upcoming video about the best weapon in the game. The fourth stat is range. In my opinion, being able to outrange another player with your gun gives you a crazy advantage in PvP, because it almost always lets you establish the rules of engagement. But since PvP doesn't exist in the game yet, you might not care that much about this now. Currently, the main reason to have good range on your guns is to be able to outrange turrets, and the main reason to have good range on your melee weapons is to be able to kill things through fences at Bunker Alpha. The fifth stat is speed. Speed obviously increases your damage per second, but something you need to remember about speed in this game is that it makes you go through your durability faster, and it doesn't affect your critical damage. So if you are choosing between increasing your damage or your speed, I'd recommend choosing damage even if the DPS increase is just a slight bit smaller. The sixth stat is noise. Currently, the only benefit to removing noise is to be able to raid with that weapon. Personally, now that we can raid with melee weapons, I don't value this stat very much. Perhaps that will change when we can raid actual players' bases. The seventh stat is weight. This one's pretty simple. The heavier the weapon is, the more it slows down your movement speed. If you play Prey Day Survival, you know that this stat is one of the most important stats you should consider when you are in a PvP zone. But since Last Day on Earth does not have PvP, this stat in Last Day on Earth is not quite as important as it is in Prey Day. The eighth stat is durability. I would normally say that this stat is amazing, but from my experience, these plus and minuses on durability don't really affect the durability of the weapon that much. So I want it if I can have it, but I'm probably not going to choose durability over some of the other stats because it just isn't enough to make a huge difference. The ninth stat is stability. This stat affects how long you can shoot a gun at its maximum speed before it starts missing. This is a huge stat for all automatic guns. Missing not only means that you don't do damage, but you will also lose your durability. If you want to use automatic weapons the way we used to be able to use them, you need to focus on increasing their stability. Well, that's it guys, hope that helps. The research team put a lot of work into gathering all this information for this video, so if you write it down and share it with someone, please make sure to give the research team credit. Also, please remember to like this video if you did in fact like this video. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.